Hello friends, once again it's my pleasure to give a brief introduction about the second year subjects of MEC and CSE. Mainly, the first part I will be talking about economics, then the second part I will be talking about accountancy and commerce. The second year economics is all macroeconomics. I will be presenting in the form of some slides. Slide 1 talks about economic growth and development. What we are going to study in the first chapter is meaning of economic growth, meaning of economic development. What is the difference between these two? Features of developing countries with reference to India, features of developed countries, objective of economic development, factors promoting economic development. I will just briefly tell few things and we can discuss in detail in the coming videos. Economic growth applies to developed countries. Economic development applies to developing countries. Economic growth is narrow in its scope. Economic development is very diversified and very broad. That is a simple distinction I want to bring to your notice. The second thing is, what are the features of developing countries with reference to India? As you are aware, whether it is India or any developing countries, some of the features are huge population, over dependence on agriculture, lot of poverty, lot of unemployment, high inflation, and poor social infrastructure, poor government policy. These are some of the features of developing countries. What are the features of developed countries? Any developed countries has high per capita, high national income, low unemployment, low poverty, low inflation, government policy, social security, etc. are very high. These are some of the features. This is regarding chapter 1, showed on slide 1. Slide 2 or chapter 2 deals with the population and human resource development. In this, we are going to discuss a little in detail about the demographic theory of demographic transition. What are the stages, how population grows, what will be the death rate, what will be the birth rate, etc. in the theory of demographic transition. But in addition to that, we are going to study causes of population explosion in India. Over the years, how Indian population has grown, what are the reasons? Some of the reasons are, it is illiteracy, poverty, unemployment, poor government policy, lack of awareness about contraceptives or birth control, a traditional mindset, universality of marriage. Some of these things are reasons why there is a huge population explosion. Some of us are aware that Indian population is second to China as on today. It's about 130 crores plus, whereas China is 150. But some of the statistics that we should be aware regarding Indian population is growing at the rate of 2%. It is also said in a joke manner that India is producing the size of the population of Australia every year. All that indicates the enormous population explosion of the Indian population. And one of the reasons why India is a struggling country, developing country, poor country is why? Because we are overstressed by the burden of huge population. While statistically we are having about 17% of the global population, which is said that every 60% or 70% in the world is an Indian, and 17% of the global population lives in India. Land area in India is only about 2.3%. In addition to the reasons for population explosion, we are also going to study what are the measures the government takes, what measures we should take. Occupational distribution, sectoral distribution is what we are going to study in the second chapter. Third chapter, we are going to study about national income, poverty and unemployment. In this, we are going to study about trends of national income, how over these years, what is the national income, how it has grown, per capita, how it has grown, the sectoral contribution to national income, that is, we are aware there are three sectors: primary or agriculture sector, secondary or industrial sector, tertiary or service sector. What is the contribution of the agriculture sector, secondary sector, industrial sector and the tertiary sector to the national income? In addition to that, how much it is generating towards the national income is what we are going to study. In the third chapter, we are also going to study about poverty, meaning of poverty, distinction between absolute poverty and relative poverty. Poverty is where a section of the society are not able to meet their basic needs. India is a very poor country. What is the percentage of people living below the poverty line? How poverty is defined? As compared to other countries, what is the percentage of people living below poverty in our country? In addition to that, we are also going to study why there is such widespread poverty in India, that too absolute poverty. Some of the reasons why we are so poor is over dependence on agriculture, illiteracy, unemployment, then poor government policy, lack of entrepreneurial spirit, huge people living in rural area are some of the reasons why there is so much of poverty. High inflation is one of the reasons. What are the consequences? What is the impact of poverty is what we are going to study. What are the remedial measures that we are going to study. The third chapter that we are going to study in this, the third topic we are going to study is unemployment. We are going to study the meaning of unemployment, voluntary unemployment, involuntary unemployment. Involuntary unemployment is when a person is capable, wanting to work, but he doesn't find work. That is called involuntary unemployment. What do you mean by voluntary unemployment? A person can work, he finds work, but he does not work. That is called voluntary unemployment. We are also going to study about underemployment. A postgraduate doing a small job, that is underemployment. We are also going to study about disguised unemployment, where 2 people are required, 4 people are working. They are giving an impression to be employed, but 2 people are sufficient, 4 people work, and that is called disguised unemployment. So these are the meaning of unemployment, relative, voluntary unemployment, involuntary unemployment, types of unemployment such as disguised, etc. we are going to study. What is the reason for unemployment? One is illiteracy, lack of skills, lack of health, lack of employment opportunities, poor business, poor government policy, and lack of entrepreneurial spirit, and lack of awareness. And the population growth is one of the reasons why there is poverty. What are the impact of poverty? What are the impact of unemployment? Unemployment breeds so many other issues, such as it could lead to poverty, again it could lead to unemployment, it could lead to lack of literacy, it could lead to people not being in a position to manage their health, and so many social issues. While this is regarding the national income, poverty and unemployment, slide 4 or chapter 4 we are going to study about planning. The 5-year plan in India, when they have started, what are the major objectives of the 5-year plan, what they have accomplished, what are the changes that were there, when was the plan holiday, what are the institutions which are governing the plans, such as the Niti Aayog. Rural-urban imbalances. We know India lives in villages. Approximately 75% of our people lives in village. Only 25% are living in cities. And so, naturally, the conditions in cities is far better. You have better infrastructure, social, education, medical, etc., transportation, communication, etc. Facilities are there. In rural areas, all these are not there. There is no employment, there is no social infrastructure, there are no opportunities, and these are called imbalances. How you can overcome these, how you can achieve balanced regional development, what are the consequences of these regional imbalances, how it will affect the people in the cities with all the infrastructure. They will improve their lifestyle further, they will grab the opportunities better, they are at an advantage. People who are in the rural areas, it is very difficult for them to come up to the city levels. And so those are the consequences. What are the remedies? The government always plans to set up industrial estates and expand housing into urban areas, whereby those areas also can grow, and thereby the regional imbalances can be reduced. In addition to planning, where we are going to study about the 5-year plan, Niti Aayog, regional imbalances, how to bring balanced regional development, we are also going to study about environment, which is a burning issue. What is the concept of environment? What are the types of environment? Pollution, environment degradation, need for environment protection, etc. That is chapter 4. Chapter 5 is a very important chapter called agriculture. We are aware that India is agriculture based economy. 40 to 50% people are living on agriculture, they are dependent on agriculture and allied activities. We are going to study topics such as causes for low productivity in agriculture, measures to improve agriculture productivity, land reforms, green revolution. We are going to study importance of agriculture in the Indian economy, what role it plays in providing employment, what is the contribution of agriculture to the national income, what is the contribution to food security, what is the contribution of agriculture to exports, what is the provision that it is what is the help it is providing to industries. All this speaks about the importance of agriculture in the Indian economy. We are going to study, in spite of being an agriculture economy, why the productivity in agriculture is poor. What are the reasons? The reasons is because of lack of connectivity between farmers and the market, lack of awareness, ignorance, following of poor outdated technology or methods, and lack of institutional credit, lack of institutional help, which is making the agriculture sector suffer. What we are going to further study is how we can improve the agriculture productivity. We can improve the agriculture productivity by providing irrigation facilities to bigger number, storage facilities, market facilities, institutional credit, and proper market price to this huge segment of our population which are agriculture dependent, and thereby we can improve the agriculture productivity. Also encourage farmers to follow modern techniques in the running of the agriculture activities. Encourage cooperative farming, use of technology, use of irrigation facility, and thereby improving the agriculture productivity. Land reforms in India, we are going to study also. Green revolution, introduction of new technology, hybrid seeds for improving the productivity was tried in India. To some extent it was successful. What is the effort made by green revolution, how it affected, what are the benefits, what are the improvements in the productivity is what we are going to study in the agriculture revolution. And one of the serious problems that agriculturists or farmers face in our country is because they are in the rural areas, most of them do not have access to institutional credits or bank credit or government regulated credit. So they depend to a large extent on money lenders or local convenience borrowing. And some of these local convenience borrowing which they do from landlords, they exploit them because of the ignorance. Many of them have to sell their lands because of the high interest rates. And so what was the status of rural indebtedness? What percentage was there? What attempt the government has done to reduce the rural indebtedness, to improve the lending to farmers through institutional credit, is what we are going to study in the agriculture sector. The 6th chapter we are going to study about the industrial sector. Structure of the industrial sector, which are the major industries, then what is the growth pattern of the industrial development, then what is the policy of the government through industrial resolutions 1948, 1956, 1991, what are the objectives, how it is achieved, what they intend to achieve. Then in the industrial sector, we are also going to study about role of SSI or small scale industries. To what extent they have played a role in contributing to employment in production, to national income, reduction of poverty, encouragement of entrepreneurship. What are the problems they have faced? Sickness, raising of finance, their ability to compete with big industries, ability to compete with foreign industries, the ability to bring modern technology, the ability not being able to get credit when they need. Then what are the remedial measures that the government has taken for protection of these SSIs? We are going to study in the industrial sector, chapter 6. Chapter 7, we are going to study about the tertiary sector. Tertiary sector is the service sector. In what way it is important? How many percentage of the Indian population are dependent on the service sector? Service sector means such as transportation, energy, communication, IT, science, banking, insurance and tourism. There is a study that you can make. Service sector and development, they go together. Development countries are having 70% of their people GDP contributed to service sector. In India it is around 40%. So development and the development of service industry, they both go together. India is now going towards that side. That is the improvement of the service sector. We are going to study about the transportation, different types of transportation, what is the coverage of transportation, road, rail, water transportation, energy, traditional energy, non-traditional energy, communication, how it has grown, information technology, how many people are employed, what is the contribution to GDP and exports, science, banking, how it has evolved, what are the changes, insurance, how it has evolved, what are the changes, tourism, which is a silent industry, what is its contribution to employment and GDP, how many people are walking into the tourism industry is what we are going to study in the tertiary sector. In addition to that, we are going to study in chapter 8 the new economic reforms. The new economic reforms through LPG, that is liberalization, privatization, globalization. What measures the government has taken from the year 1991 when Manmohan Singh was the finance minister, how he has opened the economy, how he has made businesses easy to come and start businesses in India. In what way it has contributed to employment, what way it has contributed to exports, what way it has contributed to improve the standard of living, what way it has contributed to bringing better goods and services to our country, what way it has broken the monopoly of some of the domestic industries, whereby we could not get the benefit of foreign goods into the usage of consumers. While that is regarding liberalization, privatization, globalization, we are also going to study about disinvestment and foreign direct investment. What do you mean by disinvestment? Where the private sector was encouraged to enter into the government sector, which earlier had a monopoly. The government selling certain businesses to the private sector. Then foreign direct investment is encouragement of the foreigners to invest in certain sectors whereby it can improve the industries in our country, provide employment, improve the quality of living here. In this connection, what are the economic reforms that the government has brought in the Indian economy is what we are going to study in the new economic reforms chapter. In the same chapter, we are also going to study about the concept of international trade, balance of trade, balance of payment, the role of international trade in the Indian economy. By opening up Indian economy to foreigners, by encouraging Indians to go and do business elsewhere, what is the effect in terms of improvement in the national income? What is the effect on the size of change in the production? Then institutions such as GATT, institutions such as WTO, when they have originated, what are the objectives, what is the role of India, how we have benefited, how WTO has replaced GATT in the current situation, we are going to study about this. In slide 9, chapter 9, we are going to study about the local economy. Economic features of Telangana. After Telangana was formed, what are the features of Telangana? What is the geographical area? What is the industrial face of Telangana? What is the GDP? What is the per capita income? What are the demographic features of Telangana? Education and health of Telangana, poverty and unemployment in Telangana is what we are going to study. In the chapter 10, we are going to study about the sectoral contribution to Telangana economy. Agriculture sector, how many people are employed, what is its contribution to the Telangana gross domestic product. Industrial sector, how many people are employed, what is the contribution to GDP. Service sector, tertiary sector, in the Telangana industry, how many economy, how many people are employed. Infrastructure development such as irrigation, transportation, communication, tourism, what all the government has done towards the development of these infrastructure in the area of irrigation, transportation, communication, tourism, and how they are enabling the rural urban imbalance to reduce is what we are going to study. To summarize, one should be aware of writing, presenting the secondary economics in a methodical manner. The main focus should be upon topics such as agriculture, topics such as poverty, topics such as unemployment, topics such as regional imbalances, topics such as green revolution, topics such as industrial sector, topics such as tertiary sector. We should be aware of statistics such as what is our national income, what is our per capita, what is the growth rate of population, what is the population density, what is the land area that India has, and how India has evolved under the plans, different plans, what are the objectives, whether they have accomplished or not, plan holiday, then Industrial Policy Resolution 1948, 1956, 1991, also with special focus on liberalization, privatization, globalization. If these topics are covered methodically and if one can present in a systematic manner, one can score very highly even in the second year. I have had students in Narayana who have scored 99 through proper guidance. There are many students who have scored 98. There are many students who have scored 97 in secondary economics. I want to tell on camera. So with these few words, I want to wind up my introduction to second year economics. I hope it will be fruitful when we actually get into the learning of these topics in greater detail. I welcome to this journey of learning of economics. Once you learn macroeconomics, those who want to pursue higher studies or want to take up civil services, the study of secondary economics will be of great use if you want to go for competitive examinations. So I welcome you once again. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.